Most people asking this question are asking the wrong version of it. They want to know which material lasts longer, but the real answer depends entirely on where the boat lives, how it is built, and which specific failure modes each material is actually vulnerable to. Get that wrong, and you can end up spending $30,000 on a hull that fails the environment you put it in, and the damage is invisible until it is already too late. There is no universal winner here. But there is a correct answer for each situation, and the reasons behind it are specific, documented, and not what most buyers expect going in. Here is exactly what the data says. Before the comparison, you need to know what kills each one. Because the failure mode is different for aluminum and fiberglass, and if you cannot identify the threat, you cannot evaluate whether a specific boat solved it. Aluminum does not rot, and it does not absorb water. But it is electrically active. When aluminum contacts dissimilar metals, stainless hardware, bronze fittings, or copper wiring, and when salt water is present, a galvanic cell forms and the aluminum corrodes, not slowly and not visibly. From the inside out, at structural contact points, long before anything appears on the surface. Add a stray electrical current from a marina shore power connection or faulty onboard wiring, and that process accelerates from years to months. This is the failure mode that ends aluminum boats early, not impact, not UV, and not the salt water itself. It is electrochemical attack at metal junctions the owner never inspects. Fiberglass does not corrode, but it is permeable. Water molecules pass through gel coat and into the polyester or fiberglass matrix over time through osmosis, particularly in hulls built with standard polyester resin and no barrier coat, and sitting year-round in warm water. As water contacts uncured resin pockets in the laminate, a chemical reaction produces a fluid that attracts more water through the gel coat by osmotic pressure. That pressure builds until the gel coat delaminates and blisters. West Marine documents that osmotic blistering generally occurs in boats 5 or more years old that are kept in warm water. Boats built with polyester resin and no barrier coat typically show blistering between 12 and 15 years of age. The hull looks completely normal above the waterline. Below the waterline, the process is already running. Every comparison between these two materials comes down to which failure mode is harder to manage in your specific operating environment. In saltwater, fiberglass is the more naturally defensive material. It does not corrode, it does not conduct electricity. Stainless hardware bolted through a fiberglass hull does not create a galvanic reaction with the hull itself. It only creates a reaction with adjacent dissimilar metals in the hardware assembly. The hull substrate is simply not part of the electrochemical circuit. Aluminum in saltwater requires active management to survive. The American Boat and Yacht Council recommends that aluminum vessels maintain a protective paint coating that provides a high electrical resistance barrier between the aluminum and the water. Marine-grade alloys, specifically the 5000 series, with 5086 being the standard for hull construction and bottoms, are significantly more corrosion resistant than lesser alloys, but they are not immune. Sacrificial anodes must be correctly sized, correctly placed, and replaced before 50% consumption. Copper-based anti-fouling paint cannot be used on aluminum hulls, because the copper in the paint creates exactly the galvanic situation you are trying to prevent. And if the boat is moored in a marina with stray direct current from faulty wiring on neighboring boats or the dock's shore power system, that current can cause serious structural pitting in a single season regardless of how well the anodes are maintained. Fiberglass wins the saltwater durability comparison, but only if the hull was built with vinylester resin, which resists osmotic blistering at a significantly higher rate than polyester, and only if it is hauled annually and the bottom is maintained properly. This is where aluminum has a genuine and documented advantage. Aluminum does not crack. When a fiberglass hull hits a submerged object, a dock at speed, or a rock in a river, the gel coat can shatter, the laminate can fracture, and water intrusion begins at the impact point immediately. Repairing structural fiberglass damage requires grinding, relaminating, gel coat matching, and professional skill to restore load-bearing integrity. A poorly repaired impact zone becomes a water intrusion point and a structural weak spot for the life of the hull. Aluminum bends. A hit that would crack a fiberglass hull dents an aluminum one, and a dented aluminum hull can be welded, hammered, or patched at any competent fabrication shop, not just a marine specialist. This is the reason commercial fishing boats, government patrol vessels, and wilderness guides overwhelmingly choose welded aluminum. In environments where groundings, rocky shorelines, and debris contact are routine operating conditions, aluminum's ability to absorb and recover from impact damage is a structural advantage fiberglass cannot match. The longevity equation also depends on the construction method. Welded aluminum hulls are structurally superior to riveted ones. Riveted hulls allow water infiltration between the rivet and hull material over time, particularly when the alloy used is not true marine grade. A well-built welded hull in 5086 aluminum, properly protected with anodes and barrier paint, can outlast a comparable fiberglass hull in freshwater or mixed environments by a significant margin. In the most abusive operating conditions, aluminum wins. If you have made it this far, subscribe. I break down this kind of marine materials comparison every week, and the next two categories are the ones that determine the actual 30-year outcome for both hulls. The environment determines the verdict more than the material does. In freshwater, aluminum's electrochemical threat is dramatically reduced. Freshwater is a weak electrolyte. Electrical current moves through it slowly, galvanic reactions run at a fraction of the rate they do in saltwater, and stray current corrosion from marina infrastructure is far less common. Properly built, welded aluminum boats in freshwater environments routinely reach 30 to 50 years of service life. Many commercial aluminum workboats operating on inland rivers and lakes document service records that fiberglass production hulls rarely match. In freshwater, aluminum is the more durable choice by a measurable margin. In saltwater, particularly in warm water where osmotic chemistry in fiberglass is more aggressive, and where galvanic corrosion in aluminum is accelerated, the outcome depends entirely on maintenance discipline. A fiberglass hull built with vinylester resin, hauled annually, and protected with a proper barrier coat and anti-fouling bottom paint will outperform a neglected aluminum hull every time. A well-maintained aluminum hull with correctly specified anodes, no copper anti-fouling, and a galvanic isolator on shore power will outperform a neglected fiberglass hull. Neither material survives deferred maintenance in saltwater. Here is the real verdict. The question is not which material lasts longer in the abstract. The question is which material is harder to kill given how you are actually going to operate and maintain the boat. If you are fishing rivers, lakes, and shallow freshwater environments, running rocky shorelines, pulling onto gravel bars, or dragging over structure, a welded aluminum hull in marine-grade 5086 alloy is the correct answer. It handles impact without structural consequence, requires no gel coat maintenance, and will outlast a comparable fiberglass hull in those conditions by decades. If you are running offshore saltwater, keeping the boat in a slip, and operating in warm coastal water year-round, a fiberglass hull built with vinylester resin throughout the laminate, hauled annually, and protected with an epoxy barrier coat and anti-fouling paint is the correct answer. Fiberglass is not part of the electrical circuit. It does not require anodes, nor does it require isolation from dissimilar metals. Its primary threat, osmotic blistering, is entirely preventable with proper barrier protection and an annual haul out. The boats that fail at 20 years are not failing because of the material. They are failing because the owner used a fiberglass hull without a barrier coat in saltwater and skipped haul outs for 3 years. Or because the owner ran an aluminum hull in a marina with shore power and no galvanic isolator and never replaced the anodes. Both of those failures were preventable. Neither one had anything to do with which material lasted longer in a vacuum. The builder's choice of resin answers whether a fiberglass hull is protected against osmosis. The alloy specification answers whether an aluminum hull is built for marine service. Both of those questions need an answer before you evaluate a used boat. For fiberglass, confirm vinylester resin or a factory-applied epoxy barrier coat, check the service record for annual haul-outs, and run a moisture meter across the bottom. Above 12% moisture is elevated, above 15% means active intrusion. For aluminum, confirm welded construction in 5000 series alloy, verify a node placement and replacement history, and check every stainless hardware contact point for white powdery oxidation, which is aluminum oxide, and the first visible sign of galvanic activity. Both hulls can last 30+ years. Both fail early for reasons that show up in maintenance records, not in the material itself.